do you think about fake news and conspiracy theories? Well, I think they're for sure easily spread. They usually start on social media and then they spread all over the internet, and I think there should be some maybe legal way to stop it from spreading.
The question I have for one of the experts is about fake news and conspiracy theories. What do you think is the best solution to tackle these type of issues? Is it better to create a fact-checker association that always checks everything that's coming online and stuff like that? Or should we try to regulate on a governmental level whether something is fake news or whether something is not?
Fake news and conspiracy theories are easily spread through social media. Young people clearly ask for action. But what is the EU already doing, and what do they still want to do?
In our fight against disinformation, we do not want any censorship. We want the facts to be checked. We want the politicians to be aware of this fact-checking, because lying should have some price. We want the platforms like Facebook, Google, Twitter, and many others, now newly also TikTok, hopefully also WhatsApp. We want them to report to the public what's happening in their system, what kind of disinformation, what is the origin, what is the manipulative technique used, what are the target groups. We want them to do it in every language of the EU member states, so that the people know in all the countries.
The EU will take a lot of measures, but are there any specific ones regarding fake news?
For disinformation, it's more sophisticated issue because according to the EU law, vast majority of it is legal. It's not illegal, but it could be harmful content. So we will be more careful about regulation, but also here we should have an agreement that the disinformation which is intentionally produced to do harm, to use manipulative techniques, to abuse the private data of people, but to target them, well, this is something we should not be passive about. So this is our way of thinking. Up to now, everything we do vis-à-vis the digital content is voluntary agreement with the platforms. Yeah, but I think the time is ripe to come with the rules. And we are inviting the platforms and the researchers and the journalists and the member states representatives to have a very, very intensive debate about how far to go. Because in regulation, because in EU, you know, we have the GDPR, which is now the global standard. And I believe that the EU has a very healthy instinct on what are the good things and bad things of internet, and that we are the best placed to come with the regulatory framework which will from which the people could benefit, and where we will be careful about not damaging the freedoms like freedom of speech. It will have to be a very balanced solution.
There are several possible solutions to tackle fake news online, but each one has its own advantages and disadvantages. Which one do experts think is the best solution? We went and asked.
So between those two sides, like strong intervention and regulation with an appropriate framework, or a more lighter self-regulatory variant on that, what is the best option? I think we will move towards policies that are situated right in the middle. And I give you an example. Look at what Twitter did recently and how they moved from being really reluctant to intervene on their platforms, which was criticized a lot by those in favor of more strong regulation. First, they didn't want to take down almost anything from that free speech ID. But then COVID-19 happened. And contrary to the whole presidential election that put fake news in the agenda, this was a situation where there was much less political sensitivity. So COVID, whereas, for example, if you would take down messages from the alternative right or the left, this would be criticized like, you are hampering free speech, you are hampering political ideas. When it came to COVID and there were really fake information circulating saying that people should drink bleach water, it was connected to 5G, etc. This was much less politically loaded, and so they were much less reluctant to or take it down or to work, for example, with the national health system in the United Kingdom. And they developed a kind of policy where now they would at least mention next to tweets containing fake information on COVID-19 that this was fake information. And I think the ability to work on a topic that was less politically loaded also gave these platforms more confidence that they had found a way of dealing with this information that balances between those two sides. Which led, for example, to the fact that when recently Trump tweeted about the elections via letters in the United States, that Twitter said, well, this is fact-checked, it's not trustworthy information. We will mention it next to it. They're not taking down the tweet, but they are actively saying that this is fake information, or at least inciting people to go and check that fact-checking that they did on that story. And so I believe that in the future we will see more of these nuanced policies, actions taking place across all the stakeholders in the field of information security.
Yeah, I think ultimately the responsibility is on the users, and I think the effort to train and equip people with more ability and knowledge to detect disinformation might pay more than investing heavily in the suppression and kind of censorship of information on these platforms. That said, I'm not saying just leave it all open and free and unregulated. Not at all. But I think that there might be other instruments besides the hardcore sort of censorship or blocking and deleting certain types of content.
It's clear that there are many opinions on how to tackle fake news on social media. It's not easy to find the right balance, but hopefully the policymakers will get there. What do you think is the best solution? Let us know.